So my name is Gabriella. I'm Colombian. I was born in Colombia, but I was raised in Italy. And then when I was 19 years old, after high school, I moved to London for like 7 months to work and live. And then I moved to Paris. And then I moved back to London to study at university. I did my bachelor's degree. I did my master's degree. And now I'm living in London at the moment. I'm native in Spanish and Italian, then I speak fluently French and English, and I'm learning also Mandarin, German and Portuguese. So I was born in Colombia. My parents are Colombian, so they speak Spanish, but when I was 3 years old, I moved to Italy. So I did all my education years in Italy, so of course I learned Italian grammar and everything. And at home, my mother would always speak Spanish, so those two, that's why they're my native languages. Well, so far, in the past few years, I tried to master my English, of course, at university, and my French. So I do think that for the future, for my new languages, I prefer, well, it depends. For German and Portuguese, I would very much like to master the language, so be fluent and completely understand everything. But for Mandarin, I know that's going to take a long time. So for me, it would be just fine just to be able to kind of have roughly a conversation with people, like with the native speakers, and then with the time just slow down and learn properly, but it's going to take a long time. So in the meantime, I can learn something else. Yes, like Spanish, Italian-speaking countries, England for English, United States, France and Belgium for French, yes. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I think I prefer the ones that are similar to South American culture. They have a lot of value on family, on food, on like being close to the loved ones. For example, in Italy, the south of Italy, it's very similar to South American culture because they value a lot like time with family, the food, even like every week they have meals with the family, like the Sunday lunch, it's always with the family. But also English one, it's not my favorite, that's for sure, because it's completely different. I kind of like the French one, and the American one, it's not my favorite. It's similar, but it has a lot of differences. I think French and Italian, more or less, are my favorites. Well, London, the good thing about London is that you find people of every country. Like you go in the street and you hear people speaking in so many other languages, and you can find a job very easily if you're already based in UK, because if you're a European coming, it's a bit more difficult. But for me, it's very difficult. Like you go in the street, you see a cafe, maybe they're hiring, they're looking for people. It's very easy. And there's something also very easy here is to find South American and supermarkets and restaurants. Like in Italy, in Bologna, where I used to live, there is not one single supermarket or Colombian restaurant. Not a single one. Here, there are so many. You go, like, you take the tube, you go to a neighborhood called Elephant and Castle, and you have the Colombian neighborhood. You can find so many good things here from Colombia, like the food that I miss so much. So you just go there and you feel at home because you see everybody is Colombian. You see them from the way they look, the way they speak, their accent. And it's a bit pricey, I know, but that's the only way you can find something from Colombia without going to actually Colombia. That's why I like it also here in London. Yeah, I mean, it must have changed something. Now I got used to it, but now I understand more, for example, about English culture. When it comes to, like, in terms of job, English people work a lot. They work a lot. They travel a lot for work. You see them traveling the tube, the train, because they usually don't live in London because it's very expensive. So they come from outside, they go to work. They do not spend enough time like having proper lunch, sitting down like French people. They value a lot the lunch. So they take their 1 or 2 hours. English people eat fast. They just think about work. That's the thing, which I don't like. Honestly, I prefer to take my time, enjoy my day. Otherwise, you're always thinking about work and it's not healthy and not good for your mental health. But something that I like about England is they put a lot of importance to mental health. For example, during COVID, it was quarantine time, everything. The rules here were less strict because they put a lot of importance to mental health. If people are not feeling well mentally and they have to stay close at home, it's going to get worse. So here they have more projects or they take action in order to help people in this sector. This is something that is very different to all the other countries I've been because they don't do that. This is something that I like here. But also other countries. When I traveled to other countries, I discovered the reality. For example, when I went to the US, I've always loved the US, like traveling there. But when I went there, I saw how people live. For example, in Los Angeles, there are so many homeless people. You see streets full of homeless people, and it doesn't seem that the government actually helps them. The healthcare is expensive and not many people can afford it. Housing is expensive. The groceries, like you go to the supermarket and you can spend hundreds of dollars and you don't buy that much because everything is so expensive, especially fruits and vegetables. So that's why also many American people prefer to eat fast food because it's so much cheaper. So I'll kind of like it, but not to live all your life because it's difficult, the situation there. Either you're rich or you have a very good job or it's very difficult. So now my mentality changed on United States after I went there. So that happened when I moved to London for work and also when I moved to Paris. But the difference is that I wasn't completely alone because I was working for these two families. I was au pair. But I mean, I only had contact with the family, not friends. So the thing I did, it's when I was in Paris, I decided, and also in London, I decided to go to a language school. So I would go to class every day. And there, in England, here in London, it was easier because it was a small town close to London. It was like 20 minutes by train. But it was so small that there were so many other young people being au pair. So it was basically a class of au pair. So that's how I met all my friends. We would hang out every day. After we dropped the kids at school, we would just have coffee, lunch, whatever, and we would go out every weekend. So that was amazing in London. And in Paris, it was a bit different because there weren't as many au pairs as there were in England, but I did find a very good friend in class, Anita. She is Russian and she still lives in Paris and she was an actress. So we would go out every day as much as we could, of course. And I still talk to her this day. Last time I went to Paris, last 2 times I went to Paris, I saw her. And also I'm still in contact with some of the au pairs I was friends with in London. Not all of them, but at least one or two, yes. Or for here, London, when I moved back to London, all my friends from uni, because I did my university here in London, my 3 years, but then I did my master's in another city, like in the north, in Leeds. So that was like in the middle of pandemic, and all my friends from uni moved back to their countries because of pandemic, of course. But when I moved back to London, I was alone. So, I mean, I only had my boyfriend. And the way I met other people is through some apps. There's an app called Locals here in the UK. And it's basically like people who just moved to the country or just want to meet new people to speak English or their language. So they create events online. That's a good way also to meet people. But the social media, it's great, honestly. So basically, my university in London kind of organized this fair. So it's basically, they call many organizations, charities to this place at this time and day. And if you want to do some like internships, stage, or some charity work, you go to this fair event and you see so many places. So I was looking at some charity work, for example, in China for my Mandarin, or in France, or kind of a French-speaking country. So that's how I found this organization. I don't remember the name right now, but this woman started this organization to help students improve their French, and it would be kind of a summer job or a job during their year abroad. And it would be basically just working in these hotels, either at reception or as an animator for kids or adults. So that's how I found it. I was the first one in my class to do that. And after my Italian friends did that as well. So I talked with a woman. We kind of exchanged emails for like a few weeks, a month maybe. And she kind of showed me the options that were available for the time I wanted, for the same summer, and kind of, I checked every location, and after I decided for Cacaran. So I studied in Leeds. It's a town like 4 hours from London. And it's one of the best universities for what I studied in the UK. What I study is conference interpreting. So it's basically being an interpreter in the conferences, in events, and I did it with the Spanish and English. And we studied consecutive, interpreting, and simultaneous. So the difference is that consecutive is when you have speakers, people speaking, and they can speak up to like 12 minutes, and then you take notes. And after they stop speaking, you just give the speech back in the other language. And simultaneous is the one that I prefer. It's basically during events or conferences, the speaker is speaking, and you at the same time, you hear in one language and you translate, you interpret in the other language. So that's my favorite one. I still need to do some courses to be specific, like to specialize in some topics. I'm interested in being a medical interpreter and a court justice interpreter, but I still don't know which one I prefer. Well, we train for that. That's why. We need to train our brain to listen to, in my case, it would be most of the cases, because my native language between English and Spanish is Spanish. So usually I would hear in English, and at the same time I would have to speak in Spanish. But I need to be careful, because I need to wait for them to finish the sentence and then I start mine. But at the same time I'm speaking, I still need to hear what they're saying. It is difficult. That's why I had to study for that. But now I kind of manage it better. I still need practice, but it's getting better. I already did a few conferences where I worked as an interpreter. Once it was for an event about, it was music and racism. That was consecutive, so I would take notes. And the last one I did was simultaneous, and it was about farmers, agriculture, and that kind of stuff. It was not that interesting, but it was good. Yeah, because when you graduate, you expect to immediately find your dream job or something that relates to what you've studied or what you like. But reality is different because it is very difficult, especially in my sector. Like for interpreters and translators, because I'm also a translator, it is difficult because companies, people, they ask experience, but we never had experience. So we need to do mostly kind of charity jobs to get the experience we want. And they also ask to be specialized in some subjects, but we are not. So we need to train more, put more time and effort because it's not that easy to find immediately a job. Like, for example, looking at all my classmates from my master's, not only one person and me, we are doing events as interpreters. All the others are not. They're doing something similar that has to do with languages, but it's not exactly as an interpreter. I think like 3 people are doing that. That's it. Because it's difficult immediately when you finish. It takes time, it takes experience, hours that you spend working like that, connection. You need to have so many connections as well. No, I think I like it because, I mean, my plan A when I finished high school, it was to go to Scotland, to Edinburgh, and do my university there, but it didn't work out. So actually I am happy that it didn't work out, that I came to London. I took a gap year and then I started uni. I'm actually happy because otherwise my life would be different. And I liked that I did my university in London. I met the people that I met. I studied translation, French and English, and then I did my master's. Because as well, for my master's, that wasn't plan A. My plan A was a university in London, but then didn't work out, and the best one was in Leeds. Even if it was very difficult, because I would, during my master's, I would travel to London almost every week. So I would take the bus for like 4 hours to come back to London all the time. But it was worth it because I studied a great course. My teachers were amazing. And the university was great, honestly. It was like, picture kind of this American campuses, like I would say like Yale, kind of the image, the architecture kind of is, or Brown University. It's similar to this campuses. Like my campus in Leeds was university, several buildings. Then you have the student accommodation, you have a little supermarkets inside the university, the cafes, gym, everything. So it was super nice because in London, my university was completely different. Because being in the center of London, you don't have space for student accommodation, supermarkets, restaurants, so it's different. So that's, honestly, it was worth it. It was very difficult for like 9 months, 1 year, but it was worth it. And I wouldn't change it, honestly, because I had the best experience ever. I experienced campus and parties at universities. It was amazing. And the people I met are amazing. Honestly, my friends are great. I still speak with them on a daily basis, and we plan to do trips in the future. So those are the friends that you're going to have for the rest of your life. It's very nice. Well, not sure, but I think I would like to be an interpreter, of course, for organizations that help immigrants and refugees. So I'm not sure exactly which country I would like to live in, like for the future. But I think I also would like to travel. So maybe a few months in one country, some in the other, maybe summer spent somewhere else. But basically, I would like to use my job to help people, especially immigrants and refugees, because I'm an immigrant as well. And when I arrived in Italy, it was difficult for my mother, not for me, because I wasn't speaking. It was difficult to immediately start and learn the language. So the first step is help them with the bureaucracy, with the papers, because they have no idea how it works as well. So that would be like a job that I would like, or also something that has to do with languages, but maybe translation, but not that much. I would prefer interpreting, and in another country, not in the UK. That's for sure. I started last summer. Well, I started Mandarin at university. So my first year of university, I could choose to learn another language, and I decided for Mandarin. So how I started, it's basically going to class, but I also would start to study on my own. I used flashcards for the new vocab, or even apps online. For example, Quizlet is one of them, or just trying to listen to some podcast, YouTube videos, or TV series, because that's what I love in Chinese. It's a bit difficult. And for Portuguese and German, it's different because it's so much easier. Like Portuguese from Brazil especially, it's so similar to Spanish, Italian, and French. So for me, it's easier to understand. So basically, I started using the app Duolingo with the German and the Portuguese, and then I listened to podcasts in Portuguese and TV series. And also I'm gonna start having some conversation classes online on a website called iTalki. I'm also a teacher on that website. And basically what you do is that you book classes with people native for the language, and you just speak with them, have conversations, and it's fairly cheap actually. It depends on the language, and you can practice. The person gives you tips, suggestions, homeworks, whatever you like. If you can't afford to do a university in another country, do it in your country, but I highly suggest to do Erasmus, or like a summer job somewhere else to improve your other language, because speaking English is very important, and to all French people, speak English or learn another language and try and experience like a semester or a year abroad, or even like a summer, because it's the best experience, I can tell you. My Erasmus, it wasn't that long because it was just before the pandemic, but it was amazing. And it was my dream to study in Paris as well. So it just takes time, but you'll reach your goals. It takes a lot of effort, time, a lot of tears and suffering, but you will get there.